Okay, our title today is Area of a Circle. Area of a circle. So area of circles. Whether you're in a plane or if you look on Google Maps, you're bound to see something like this. And that's just circle crops in the form of a circle. And why is it that they put them in a circle? It's because they found that using what they call pivot irrigation uses the least amount of water. So this is the most efficient. So here's a pivot, and this is where the water comes through, and it goes to the sprinklers all the way out here through the pipeline. Here's a picture of a pivot right where the pump is. There's a water pump. There's a well right there, water well, and it pumps the water out through the pipes. There it is going through the sprinklers. And there's the very end of it. And usually they have motors controlling the wheels right here so that it will turn. So now here's a question for you. Would the pipeline distance be the radius or diameter of the crop? This pipeline, that distance, would that be the radius or diameter? The question. It is radius. That would be the radius of the circle. It goes from the center to the outside. That's the radius. Now, why would farmers need to know the area of their crops? Why would they need to know the area of their crops? Well, they would need to know for how many seeds, how much seeds they need, how much water they need. That's why they would want to know the area. And there's other factors too. So how do farmers determine the area of their crops? Well, let's see if I put a radius in there and I keep going around putting radiuses, and then I look at this one right here. Let's look at this. So a radius and a radius, and let's make that into a square. So basically we have this area, this green area is radius times radius. In other words, it's a square radius squared. And I'm just going to use this grid to kind of help me. And the question I'm trying to figure out is how many of these are squares, these colored squares, the green, the blue, the big ones. How many can fit inside the circle? How many of these large squares can fit inside the circle? Well, let's see. If I kind of break it up a little bit, I can see I can put the green one in there and the blue one in there. So I know that I can fit at least two of them. As a matter of fact, these squares right here, this R squared, turns out you can put 3 and a little bit more inside the circle. That little bit more, it's 3.14. 3.14 times R squared is the area. That's how many R squares are needed to fill the area. And of course we know this is pi. So the formula is actually, to find the area of a circle, it's R squared times pi, or pi times R squared. That's the formula to find the area of a circle. And that's what these farmers do. That's what they use, that's what formula they use to figure out the seeds, the water, fertilizer, and all kinds of things they need. Okay, in case you're wondering, this is the halfway where my finger is. That's the halfway mark down the page. So that gives you some idea. An area is how many square units fit inside. And that's the way it is for pretty much any shape, not just a circle. Area is how many square units fit inside. And the key word is square. And so I'm going to just put some squares in here, just to remind myself that area is made up of squares. Almost looks like a waffle iron. Okay, so area is how many square units will fit inside. So with our other circle, this is our radius. And from the equation we went over before, area equals r squared times pi. Okay, so this is something that is important, need to know, and that's this. R squared does not equal r times 2. No, they're not the same. I'm just gonna cloud this in. R squared is equal to r times r. It's the number times itself. It's not times 2. Okay, so try to remember that. This is a times. So this will help us so we don't get confused between the two. Circumference is equal to 2 times radius times pi. 2r pi. But area is radius squared times pi. And many students get this confused. A lot of people get this confused between the two. This is 2 times the radius, that's diameter. And this is r times r, radius squared. How many squares fit inside? That's how you can remember it. Area is always squares. And I think I'll just do this. Remember. So we'll do 4 examples down below, practicing finding area. Okay, so there's the bottom of the page right here. And so we just have 4 problems, 4 circles. You can make them as small as you want. All right, on the first circle, we'll give it a radius of 4. And again, I'm just going to use m for meters. Remember, our formula is area equals r squared pi. And since the radius is 4, let's plug that in there. So it's 4 squared. R squared, 4 squared. Sometimes you'll see answers that are just like that. And 4 squared is 4 times 4. That's 16. This would be the exact answer. If we were looking for it, this would be the exact. If not, you can calculate to find the approximate would be 16 times 3.14. And remember, 16 is 4 times 4, right? 4 times 4 times 3.14. So I'll enter that in. 4 times 4 times 3.14. And the answer is 50.24. And if I was to include the units, it would be meters. Meters squared, because we're talking about squares. So this is 50 square meters. 50.24 square meters. Wow, I wish I didn't write so close. All right, the next one, let me zoom in there. This is going to have a diameter, and the diameter is 10 meters. 10 meters for that circle. And we know that area is r squared times pi. Well, wait, this is not the radius. This is the diameter. So the radius is 5, right? That's the radius. Diameter is 10, the radius must be 5, going halfway across. So this is really going to be 5 squared times pi. I'm just going to kind of do it the long way just to make sure. It's 5 squared is 5 times 5 times pi. So that's 25 pi. Why am I using so many different colors? I guess I just like to. So this would be the exact answer. 25 pi. And the approximate answer would be 5 times 5 times 3.14. And if you want to write that out, you can, or if you... I'm going to write it out. 5 times 5 times 3.14. And you would put that in the calculator. So 5 times 3.14. And I have 78.5. And that the units are meters, so it'd be meters squared. Square meters. So the area inside here, if we're measuring in meters, it'd be square meters, it'd be 78.5 square meters. Okay, now you tried this one at the top, or this one right here, and we'll use a radius of 3 meters. Always write down the formula, you just plug in the numbers after that. Okay, see if you can calculate the exact and approximate. So the radius is 3, so it's 3 squared pi. That's 3 times 3 times pi, and that would make it 9 pi. That's the exact answer. What about the approximate? The approximate is just 3 times 3 times 3.14. Okay, when I do that, I get 28.26. 28.26. What about the units? Is it meters or is it meters squared? It's meters squared. It's how many squares will fit inside. That's why it's meters squared. Okay, for our last example, the circle is 12 meters, but that's not the radius. That's a diameter. write your formula. Plug in your numbers and see what you get for the exact and the approximate. Notice that the radius is 6, right? If the diameter is 12, the radius is 6 meters. So I put a 6 in there for the radius. And 6 squared is 6 times 6. Well, that would just be 36. 36 pi would be the exact answer. So to calculate the approximate, 6 times 6 times 3.14, I get 113.04. 113.04. And the units are meters, but it's squares. Meters squared. And by the way, that comes about because the 6 is 6 meters. 6 meters. Meters times meters is meters squared. Okay, so please try to remember that this right here, right? R squared is not R times 2. That's not the case. It's R times R. And these are the difference between the two formulas.